Now at 5, it's a catchy tune, but the lyrics preach violence against convicted rapist Brock Turner. Now it has a Stanford professor in some hot water.
The professor tweeted out the song, but then deleted her post.
Let's go right to KPIX 5 Devin Feely with the song, the controversy, and the fallout from all of this. Devin?
Yeah, here on campus, the Brock Turner case remains as controversial and as polarizing as ever. The latest chapter, a song released on YouTube, which some are describing as satirical, but others say is deadly serious in its apparent call for violence against the former Stanford student.
Brock Turner, you're the definition of scum.
In a since-deleted tweet, Stanford law professor Michelle Dauber encouraged her followers to, quote, enjoy the song targeting Brock Turner, the former Stanford student convicted of sexually assaulting an unconscious woman outside a campus party.
I hope your face gets kicked in, Brock Turner.
The song suggests Turner should live his life as a pariah, shunned and isolated, and seems to relish the idea that he become the victim of violence.
I find that disturbing, horrifying, and so inappropriate.
Retired Judge LaDoris Cordell says the song's not-so-veiled threats of violence should not be ignored.
Clearly, she's demonstrated very poor judgment, but she's not stupid. No one with even a modicum of education would read the lyrics to that song and think, oh, it's just satire. Won't take it seriously. It is not.
Professor Dauber, who wouldn't talk on camera today, says she doesn't want the song or her tweet to distract from the efforts to recall Judge Aaron Persky, whose 6-month sentence of Turner, she says, makes him unfit for the bench. The Recall Persky campaign released a statement today, writing in part, our campaign has nothing to do with this song, and the now deleted tweet came from Professor Dauber's personal Twitter account. Judge Cordell, however, says the song should be worrying to the recall campaign and those who support it.
This is basically the tenor of this recall, what it's been like. Been very aggressive, bullying, and mean-spirited.
We did reach out to the university today to get their reaction to Professor Dauber's tweet, as well as the song's apparent celebration of violence. The university, however, had no comment. At Stanford University, Devin Feely, KPIX 5.
To Southern California now, where a new wildfire threatening about 1,000 homes in northern San Diego County. The Lilac Fire broke out about 6 hours ago west of Interstate 15. Since then, it's exploded across 1,000 acres and destroyed at least 20 structures. Further north, here's a live look at one of the fires still burning in the Los Angeles area. And you can see a massive wall of flames devouring trees, bushes, on that mountainside. Fierce winds making it all but impossible to get containment. The CBS reporter Danielle Nottingham joins us now live from Ventura County, where the fire threat level is now unprecedented territory. Danielle?
Well, Ken, and in a sign that the danger has not passed this area, another fire broke out today, one in Riverside County, so the threat has not passed. And today, firefighters have spent most of the day trying to get ahead of these erratic winds here in Ventura County and in Los Angeles County. The extreme Santa Ana winds are kicking up massive walls of flames in Ventura County in one of the most volatile wildfires, dubbed the Thomas Fire. For the first time, parts of Southern California are under what's being called a purple warning as hurricane-force winds drive the flames. The winds are so strong here, flames on both sides of this major highway forced closures along a 17-mile stretch.
It's incredibly scary.
About 20 miles north, nearly all 7,000 people living in the small resort town of Ojai have been evacuated. Firefighters have been struggling to get a handle on the blaze that's wiped out nearly 100,000 acres since Monday night. Darlene Jordan and her husband are among the hundreds of fire victims trying to grasp the devastation.
Everything is here. Well, we're okay. We got out with the dog.
In Los Angeles County, fire crews took advantage of calmer winds to save many of the multi-million-dollar homes and the exclusive community of Bel Air. Hundreds of schools are shut down for the rest of the week across Southern California as firefighters try to get the massive blazes under control. And more than 116,000 acres have burned so far in Southern California. Live in Ventura, Danielle Nottingham. Ken, back to you.
Yeah, Danielle, we've got action out there in Riverside County, up in Ventura where you are, down near San Diego County. Any indication when these winds, very erratic winds, might die down? What is weather showing us?
Well, so far, it seems these winds will be around for the next few days. Red flag warnings continue until Sunday night here in Southern California. And speaking with firefighters and some of the local officials in this area, they said really to stop these fires, we need some rain and we need these winds to die down. And so it could be days, it could be a week before they really get these fires under control. But it just shows you this area, it needs rain.
Still very
really
dangerous.
Badly.
Very dangerous situation down there. Danielle Nottingham live for us in Ventura County. Danielle, thank you. Well, dramatic scene along Highway 101 in Ventura County, not far from where she was, where a driver put his own safety at risk to save a wild rabbit. You can see him frantically trying to trap that frightened animal. As a wall of flames closes in, he scoops it up just in time. Moments later, the CHP shows up and orders him to get moving.
The big story in Washington, Senator Al Franken announced his resignation amid allegations of sexual misconduct. CBS reporter Weijia Jiang on how Franken used his goodbye speech to take a parting shot at President Trump. Weijia?
Well, Senator Franken seemed to suggest that he is the victim of a double standard. And even though he announced his resignation, he did not admit to any of the allegations. In fact, he says in his heart he knows as a senator he has not done anything to dishonor the institution.
Senator Al Franken announced his resignation on the Senate floor.
In the coming weeks, I will be resigning as a member of the United States Senate.
The Minnesota Democrat was under intense pressure to step down, faced with a growing list of women accusing him of sexual misconduct. During his announcement, Franken pushed back against his accusers.
Some of the allegations against me are simply not true. Others I remember very differently.
He also used the moment to take a swipe at President Trump.
There is some irony in the fact that I am leaving while a man who has bragged on tape about his history of sexual assault sits in the Oval Office.
Franken says he had hoped to clear his name through an ethics investigation, but he now realizes he could not be an effective senator through that process.
The tide turned against Franken when 35 of his Democratic colleagues called on him to step down.
We need to draw a line in the sand and say none of it is okay, none of it is acceptable, and we, as elected leaders, should absolutely be held to a higher standard.
Minnesota's Democratic governor will pick someone to fill Franken's seat until a special election next year. As for Franken, he says he's resigning but not giving up his voice.
There are several names of Democratic leaders from Minnesota being floated around, including the Lieutenant Governor, Tina Smith. Whoever takes Franken's place won't have that much time to prepare because we expect him to leave by the end of the month. We're live on Capitol Hill. Weijia Jiang, KPIX 5.
Well, developing news out of Oakland, where we have learned a crippling citywide strike will drag on for at least one more day. KPIX 5 reporter Da Lin is at City Hall. Da, it's day 3 now. Are there any signs that these two sides are getting closer to a deal?
Well, late this afternoon, the city increased its offer and gave the unions a new proposal, but it doesn't sound like the unions are very impressed because they're planning to come back tomorrow for another day of strike. In the meantime, the impact is being felt across the city. Here's a small example right here. Trash basically piling up over at the city-owned trash cans. They're spilling over. They're too young to understand labor dispute and money, but some of their parents are feeling the financial pain.
Depending on that little check that I do get. So if I miss a few hours, I know that my check is going to be smaller than what it is, and I'm just going to be like, okay, well, either he's not going to get this gift or this bill's not going to get paid.
The strike has shut down all city-run Head Start facilities, which provide child care for roughly 400 low-income families.
Families that rely on our rec centers as their after-school program providers. All of these families are without this support in their regular lives.
Jamaica Turner's son is in the early Head Start program, but he's turning 3 and will enroll in Head Start in a couple of weeks. She hopes the strike will be over by then.
It's a burden, and then I know it's a headache for a lot of people because then you got to find somebody on the last minute during the week.
The strike shuts down almost all city services except for fire and police. No trash pickup means even more junk piling on sidewalks. Public Works employees typically clear out illegal dumping and pick up trash at homeless encampments.
Mainly health issues of rats.
And they say the city-issued porta potty is beyond disgusting right now.
But people that go in there stairs to the top. I mean, it's bad.
The city and the unions are negotiating right now. They started negotiating around 3:45 this afternoon. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll provide some details regarding the city's latest offer and the reaction from the union's chief negotiator. For now, live at Oakland City Hall, Da Lin, KPIX 5.
Developing news out of Sunnyvale, where a body has been pulled from the water along the San Francisco Bay Trail. A passing bicyclist spotted it this morning. Chopper 5 was overhead this afternoon as divers went into the water to retrieve the remains. So far, no word on who the person is or how they died.
The police say 2 suspects are on the loose after shooting a 4-year-old girl in Oakland. This happened last night on Simpson Street near Mills College. The girl was in a car when she was shot in the forearm. She was taken to the hospital and is in stable condition today.
An elderly San Francisco man has died and his wife is hospitalized, both apparent victims of carbon monoxide poisoning in their Bernal Heights home. KPIX 5's Jackie Ward says the news has shaken neighbors.
Carbon monoxide detectors were installed in this home less than 2 months ago, but still, it wasn't enough to save a man's life. Just after 4 this morning, a carbon monoxide detector sounded off, alerting the people who live here at 301 Moultrie that there were unsafe levels of the odorless gas in their home.
At first, befuddled, stumbled our way around and then eventually got it off.
Teresa Savin says she's lived in the second-floor apartment for 9 years. The couple below her has also been here that entire time.
We're all just kind of sitting around taking care of each other, praying for those two. Nice as pie people.
The fire department says when they arrived on scene and had to force themselves inside the lower unit, they found a woman unconscious by the door. Her husband was still in bed. First responders did CPR on him for 45 minutes before pronouncing him dead.
It's sad, that I don't know what to say.
This case is still under investigation, but preliminary findings lead PG&E to believe this was caused by incomplete combustion of the water heater, meaning a line may have been pinched, preventing the right amount of gas or oxygen from getting into the heater and escaping. In San Francisco, Jackie Ward, KPIX 5.
Coming up, a vicious dog attack in San Francisco, an update on the 2 loose pit bulls that were roaming the streets.
Plus, getting grilled about a President Trump tweet, why the director of the FBI is playing defense on Capitol Hill.
And the White House says the U.S. might not be a part of the Winter Olympics in South Korea. A San Francisco woman has neighbors to thank for helping her survive an attack by 2 pit bulls. The dogs killed her chihuahua.
KPIX 5's Susie Steimel with how those pit bulls were finally tracked down. Susie?
Well, Ken and Liz, these dogs were found wandering by themselves off leash some 15 miles south of here near Daly City. Police say the public and media reports were instrumental in tracking them down. Now they're in custody in San Francisco, awaiting their fate.
We heard some woman scream at the top of her lungs, so of course we're going to go see what's going on,
Jimmy or Nathan just happened to be down the street with a friend when the attack happened.
There was 2 pit bulls. Both had their mouth on the dog, a little dog, and you could just hear the teeth sinking into the dog, man.
He saw a woman holding on to her pet chihuahua being dragged across the pavement by 2 large dogs. His friend hit the dogs with a shovel, forcing them to release their tight grip.
I had the ball and basketball, and I hit him in the face, and he let go, and I hit him in the face because he was going back to go and get another bite.
So when the throat is already punctured like that, there's not really much you can do. You can't save it after that.
Aaron Hoskins was there that night and tried to treat the woman's chihuahua, Joey, but the wounds were too severe. Since then, the owner placed these signs around the neighborhood warning people to be on the lookout for these dangerous dogs. Today, they were taken into custody.
At this point,
The dogs will be awaiting a hearing, essentially, is what happens with the vicious and dangerous dog unit.
That hearing will determine whether the owner can take these dogs home. They were turned in as strays in Daly City. The owner still yet to be found, and for now, isn't facing charges.
So it's unclear exactly what transpired right before the attack or how they were roaming around in the streets. That's part of our investigation, so we can't automatically assume that the owner is at fault at this point.
And as you just heard, police say they are not yet wrapped up with their investigation, and they are asking for the public's help yet again. They were so helpful tracking down these dogs. They're hoping you can help them find the owner. Next. Liz.
And Susie, what's going to happen to these dogs if their owner never shows up?
Well, there's two scenarios, and they're all contingent upon the vicious and dangerous dog hearing that is upcoming for these two dogs. In that case, there's a chance that these dogs could be ordered to be destroyed. If the owner doesn't show up, then they could be given back to the Humane Society, and the Humane Society would have to decide what to do with them.
All right, Susie's time will live for us tonight. Thank you, Susie.
Well, a cloud of uncertainty about U.S. participation in the upcoming Winter Olympics in South Korea. Today, the White House press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, told reporters, quote, "No decision has been made." Then she tweeted that the U.S. wants to make sure the Olympic venues are secure. Earlier this week, the UN ambassador said the situation is, in her words, an open question. Several countries have said they may pull their athletes out because of tensions with North Korea. The games are in February, about 50 miles south of the DMZ.
The new FBI director grilled on Capitol Hill today. Reporter Mola Langi shows us his pushback against the president's Twitter assessment of the Bureau.
Lawmakers questioning the new FBI director wanted to know what he thought about a recent tweet from President Trump.
Will you respond to this tweet by the president? Is the FBI's reputation in tatters?
The FBI that I see is tens of thousands of agents and analysts and staff working their tails off to keep Americans safe.
President Trump picked Christopher Wray to be the FBI director after firing James Comey. Wray's been on the job since August, and Republicans grilled him about their concerns with recent and ongoing investigations.
At the very least, the FBI's reputation as an impartial, non-political agency has been called into question.
Top agent Peter Strzok was recently removed from special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation after sending anti-Trump text messages to another FBI employee. Strzok also worked on the Hillary Clinton email investigation and has now been reassigned to the agency's Human Resources Department.
There's got to be something more here. It can't just be some text messages.
Republicans say the actions of this agent call into question the integrity of Mueller's ongoing investigation and the decision not to prosecute Hillary Clinton.
The Inspector General is looking at the very important question of whether or not improper political considerations factored into the decision making.
Wray also testified he had not seen any effort from the White House to interfere in Mueller's investigation into Russian election meddling and possible collusion between President Trump's associates and Moscow. Mola Lengi, CBS News, the White House.
Today, the nation is marking 76 years since the attack on Pearl Harbor. At the White House, a half dozen survivors looked on as President Trump signed a proclamation to make December 7th Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. And one veteran went into a football stance for a moment. Back in 1941, turns out he was getting ready to play a game when that attack happened. Here in the Bay Area, several survivors took part in a public discussion on the USS Hornet in Alameda. One man recalled seeing the first bombs coming down, and a woman remembered playing in her yard as a child as the Japanese planes were passing overhead. The Hornet is now a floating museum.
It's living history. The ship itself is 75 years old. People come experience it. It's one big STEM project. And it's just an honor to be able to have a way for people to get to meet these Pearl Harbor survivors. And then we have about a half a dozen World War II veterans here today.
And the Japanese Consul General of San Francisco also took part in today's event.
Coming up in weather, the air quality is changing. The amount of cloud cover is changing. But will the extremely dry December forecast change? I have the answer in the 7-day next.
And coming up all new at 6 o'clock tonight, everywhere you look, the owner of the Full House home wants the property to be more like the TV show set. Why neighbors are fighting the plans for a renovation.
But first, the markets closed up again today, and here's a look at the closing numbers from Wall Street.
Check out these really interesting clouds over the San Mateo Bridge right now. What you're seeing is kind of a mix of regular clouds and some of the smoke from Southern California, if you can believe it, moving into the Bay Area at around 10,000 feet. Makes for a really interesting sunset.
We have multiple layers of the atmosphere and different wind directions within those layers. One is coming up from the south and advecting some of that smoke in. Those fires are just crazy down in Southern California.
Oh. Yeah, no.
They didn't get the November rainfall that we did, and thank goodness we did, because our fire season is, for all intents and purposes, finished. We've gone dry in December. Some of you have not seen a drop of rain so far, and long-range computer models say you may be waiting a while before your first widespread December rainfall chance. Peek outdoors right now. We have the air quality tomorrow taking a bit of a turn for the worse. It was moderate today. It'll stay moderate for most of the Bay Area, going unhealthy in the North Bay. All it takes is one of those 5 zones to go unhealthy for a spare the air day. So tomorrow is a spare the air day. That ridge of high pressure, not the smoke from Southern California, it's the ridge trapping the pollutants at the bottom of the atmosphere. That big strong ridge keeping us dry. Upper 50s, low 60s currently. San Jose 61, San Francisco 62, Concord 61, Oakland currently 60. It's going to get chilly at night. That'll be the thing that we deal with every morning. 30s away from the water. Livermore 38, jacket weather in Vallejo tomorrow morning 37, Redwood City 41, and San Jose tonight 41 degrees. No widespread freeze, but it will be chilly. There it is. We've got a low pressure area bringing snowfall to Austin, Texas down there. We've got a low bringing heavy rainfall to Alaska up there, but right over top of all of the West Coast is this big strong ridge. That's the catalyst for the winds in Southern California as well. It's not moving tomorrow. Temperatures stay well above average. Look at the normal highs in the upper 50s. Tomorrow 68 in San Jose, 9 degrees above normal. Concord 63, 7 degrees above normal. San Francisco even 5 degrees above average. And now we look to the future. When is the ridge going to move? Because that is the first kind of domino that needs to fall for everything else to change behind it. Well, that's next Tuesday. Ridge is pretty much in the same spot. And the storm track, where's that? It's up toward Juneau, Alaska, even 5 hours north of Whistler, British Columbia, which can't buy a flake of snow right now. So we stay dry. We will stay dry up and down the West Coast for at least the next week. Strange weather. Filtered sunshine, some high clouds moving overhead. No widespread freezes, but the 30s will continue inland at night, and temperatures will remain anywhere from 5 to 9 degrees warmer than average for early December. 60s tomorrow. Napa 65, Livermore 65, Fairfield 62, Oakland, your high 64, Pacifica 64 degrees with sunshine. 7-day forecast. Each day we add a new day at the end of it. Yeah, nothing's changing. Looks pretty similar to yesterday. 60s near the bay, 60s at the beach, 60s to low 70s inland. That is your forecast. Now a little taste of Christmas. Liz, holiday lights.
Oh yeah, we are sharing holiday lights this Christmas, and check this out. This is the Stahl family in Sonoma. And they lean into Christmas, baby. They sent us this video of their Disney theme, a little bit of everything themed. It is pretty spectacular. Some familiar characters in the front lawn, as you saw there.
Star Wars.
Then up on the roof, they go with the Star Wars motif. Very good. They even got the Stormtroopers and R2-D2. I have to take my son to go see that one, though. He's going to love it. We'd like to see your holiday light displays. Share your photos and videos with us on our KPIX5 Facebook page, and we'll be right back. The CBS TV News is up next.
Jeff Glor here with a preview. Jeff?
We are on the ground in Southern California, where the wind and fire threat remains extraordinarily high. We have a team of correspondents here, the very latest on tonight's CBS Evening News.
And ahead at 6 o'clock, a Bay Area company stands to benefit the most from tax reform.
And what Apple plans to do with its $47 billion tax break, Alan and Veronica back in 30 minutes with that story and much more.